Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody who has joined us here on the program tonight. Renee Steppe's in here. Richard Smith, Demon Catman from the east of England, is here. Berlinda Mustafa is here. Richard Smith from Eastern Canada is here, Nova Scotia, Canada. Aubrey's here from South Dakota. Welcome, welcome. Sleeping Volcano's here from Colorado. Welcome, we appreciate you so much being here. I want to welcome everybody here, and we're going to start off tonight with the nation's national anthem. If you please, would you please rise now for the national anthem? Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Oh yeah! Come on, folks, let them know it.
America's finest, the United States Army Barbershop Quartet, performing at the Barbershop Quartet Convention in 2015. We want to thank these men for doing this for us. They are truly America's finest, along with our military around the world. We want to thank all of our military, our armed forces servicemen and women around the globe or here in the United States. Thank you for your service. I also want to thank all those allied armed forces around the world that support the United States of America. God bless you all, and may you all return home to your families after your tours of duty end. And thank you so much for your service. I've said this, and I'm going to say it tonight, and I'll say it again for the rest of my life. Every time I meet an armed forces service member, or if I meet a retired armed forces service member, I get up out of the chair I'm sitting in, or if I'm walking, I stop by them and thank them for their service and shake their hand. That is the way I roll. I appreciate all of our armed forces servicemen and women. It doesn't matter whether you work for the Coast Guard, or Space Force, or the Marine Corps, Army, Air Force, or Navy. We love you. We appreciate your service, and we want to thank you for being there for us. Thank you so much, men and women. God bless you all. Now, I want to also put this out there, and I appreciate all of you. Folks, we are in a position, and I'm not saying we are in a position right now where we're at DEFCON 1. I do not believe we are at DEFCON 1 at all. I want to make that point perfectly clear right now. There was someone on social media that was saying we are at DEFCON 1. We are not. We're far from it. At that point in time, when I was waiting to talk to someone from the Navy to get the lowdown on what exactly was going on, which I did, the person that had put that up said what I'm saying now, we are not at DEFCON 1. But it's not out of the realm of possibility. It is not out of the realm of possibility of all. We need to be very calm and collected with what we're saying. We need to be very emphatic about what we say and where we stand. I'm going to say that again. We need to be emphatic about who we are, what we are, and where we stand. We stand on the road of righteousness. We stand on the road of affirmative action in terms of what we support and what we do. I'm not talking about affirmative action in terms of racism or anything like that. It's not that at all. What I am speaking about, we need to tell everybody where we are at. I don't give a flying rat's butt what the politicians say. The politicians and the mainstream media lie to us, and they continue to lie to us. Don't believe anything they say at all. Not one little bit. Okay? I'm just putting that out there. I wasn't going to talk about that tonight, but I am right now. I want to make a statement perfectly clear. I'm not the president. However, I'm very much in control of what I'm saying and who I am. I'm not in front of the President of the United States at all. I don't care for him. Not one little bit. But I will support this country to the nth degree. I will support this country to the nth degree. I refuse to back the President administration at all. I want to make that perfectly clear. Delete Funds is asking, what is DEFCON 1? There are 5 DEFCON levels. There are 5 DEFCON levels. DEFCON 5 is at peace, where the world is at peace. Okay? I'm going to tell you exactly what DEFCON levels are. Okay? I want to make sure you understand what we're talking about. DEFCON 5 means we're at peace. DEFCON 4, increased intelligence watch and strengthened security measures. DEFCON 3, increase in force readiness, above that is required for normal readiness. DEFCON 2, the next step to nuclear war. DEFCON 1 is nuclear war. Now, with that said, I can confirm nor can I deny. I'm not going to confirm or deny where we're at. Okay? We're probably at somewhere between DEFCON 4 and DEFCON 3. Okay? The military is the only one that can tell us where we're at. The military is only people that can tell us where we're at. But I'm not going to confirm or deny exactly where we're at. But it's definitely not DEFCON 1. Now, Canadian Patriot 1, and I'm not saying anything about this man. I don't like him. He puts up videos on YouTube that are just clickbait. This man puts up videos that are clickbait. I urge all of you within the sound of my voice, and you can tell your friends and relatives and your neighbors and your family not to pay attention one whit about what this gentleman says. Don't pay attention to him. He's as much a liar as Joseph Biden or Camelback Harris is. Canadian Patriot, and I'm not talking about my friend Dave. I'm talking about Canadian Patriot on YouTube. He's a fraud. Don't listen to what he says. Okay? I'm just telling you that right now. There's a couple other people that I don't like because they're also fraudsters. Don't pay attention to what they're saying. Now, I will say this. If you have any questions on where we're at, come to me, call me, email me, message me, and I will tell you where we're at. Okay? I will give that to you. But we are not at DEFCON 1. We are not at DEFCON 1. Okay? I want to make that clear. Now, I have quite a few other things to discuss with you. The first thing I'm going to talk about is a tropical storm that is now skirting the Caribbean. Right now it is in the southern Caribbean Sea, just east of the Yucatan Peninsula. This is a tropical storm. Now, by tomorrow afternoon, Wednesday afternoon at approximately 2 p.m., this will probably be a Category 1 storm. This will probably be a Category 1 hurricane. Okay? This will also be north of the Yucatan Peninsula. The people living over in the Yucatan Peninsula, including Honduras and Belize, are getting soaking wet today. The storm is going to drop a lot of rain onto them. Now, by Thursday, 2 a.m., this storm will be in the southern Gulf of Mexico. By evening, by afternoon of Thursday afternoon, this will be off the western coast of Florida. Off the western coast of Florida. Now, what does this all mean? Once it gets to this point, the southern part of Florida, including the Florida Keys, are going to be buffeted by the outer bands of the hurricane. They believe this storm is going to be at least a Category 3 hurricane, with winds of up to 120, 122 miles per hour. That is a very strong hurricane. Southern Florida and the Florida Keys are going to get hit hard. Hard. By Thursday night going into Friday morning, Hurricane Helene, or Helena, will be making landfall in northern Florida. Northern Florida, the panhandle of Florida. We don't know exactly where it's going to make landfall. You see the cone of uncertainty here. This cone of uncertainty is pretty certain because all of the spaghetti models, the National Weather Service, the European models, the National Hurricane Center all point to this same cone of uncertainty. It doesn't differ much from this, which means this is going to be where the hurricane is going to be. Now, I want to also say this, okay? I want to point out what is going to happen. Right here, you see the yellow layers here off the southern west coast of Florida. These areas are going to see some storm surge. Now, I don't think I have opened up this map truly where you can see what it's saying. The yellow areas, anywhere from inches to 2 feet of storm surge. This is wind-driven rain and wind-driven Gulf of Mexico ocean water storm surge that will be going into the land of Florida, into the coastal areas of Florida. This is going to be light. This is going to be somewhat light in southern Florida. As this storm moves north, you see these orange areas here. Okay? Now we're talking up to 5 feet of storm surge. 5 feet of storm surge. Okay? This is off the coast of Tampa Bay, Florida. So Tampa Bay and the coastal cities here on the west coast here are going to be upwards of 5 feet of storm surge. Wind-driven rain and wind-driven ocean currents flooding over into the landmass in Florida. Then we go north from there. Let's zoom in here some more. Okay? You see this red area. This red area will be the most extreme storms, almost the most extreme storm surge that you can imagine. Now we're talking from 7 feet to 12 feet of storm surge. 7 to 12 feet of storm surge. Then we get into the violet colors where this hurricane is going to be making landfall. Now here we're going to see 12 to 15 feet of storm surge. 12 to 15 feet of storm surge. And over to the westernmost part of the panhandle of Florida. Again, it's going to go down to 12 feet of storm surge. Okay? This is going to be a very powerful storm. It will be a very powerful storm. Now the outer bands of this hurricane are going to make landfall before the actual eye of the hurricane does. Notice the blue areas over on the eastern shores of Georgia, South and North Carolina. We're going to see some kind of storm surge there. 2 to 3 foot of storm surge as these outer bands of this hurricane go over the Atlantic coast. Okay? They're going to stir up this hurricane. So we're going to see these outer bands of this storm reach over here to the eastern coast of Georgia, South and North Carolina. You guys can expect a lot of rain. You guys are going to see a lot of rain. Now, we've already seen some rain today that has nothing to do with Hurricane Helena. Here in Morganton, North Carolina, we were going to see a low pressure system come in, which it did. About 3:30 this afternoon, we had heavy rain, and we had thunderstorms. The only reason I am on the air right now is the heavy rain and thunderstorms has gone past us. That's the only reason we are on the air right now. Okay? Here in North Carolina, and even South Carolina, we're supposed to be getting a lot of rain during the next 2 to 3 days through the weekend, with heavier rain coming in tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. We're expecting wind of upwards of 35 miles per hour this weekend. Those of you that live in my area, on the east coast of the United States, even over towards the mountains, the western mountains, be advised, you guys are going to see storms. Thunderstorms, heavy rain, and some lightning. Be aware of it. Be prepared, not scared. This is what's going on with Hurricane Helene. Does anybody have any questions about this? Lamb is the Light lives over in Asheville, North Carolina, about 75 miles from where I live, south and west of me. She's probably going to see this as well. Does anybody have any more questions for me about Hurricane Helene? I'm going now back to the hurricane cone, what they call the cone of uncertainty here. Again, where you see the orange here in the center bottom of this slide, this is where the tropical storm is right now. By tomorrow, this storm will be over on the southern tip of the northern tip of the Yucatan Peninsula, Honduras and Belize. You guys are going to see a lot of rain, a ton of rain. The southern part of the Dominican Republic has already seen it. Cuba is also going to see this storm. You can see the blue western end of Cuba is going to be heavily hit with rain. Heavily hit with rain. A storm surge of up to 10 feet high in Cuba. Okay? Now this storm will be on the East Coast for a while. Okay? Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday. At that point in time, it's going to make a turn to the west, to the northwest. This is going to go into Iowa, Ohio, possibly into the western part of Indiana, up into Illinois, Iowa, and possibly even Minnesota and Wisconsin. You folks up in this area of the country should also be warned about this and make proper preparations. By the time the storm gets to that point, it will be a tropical depression, and you guys are going to probably see winds of 35 miles per hour and a lot of rain. But the coastal areas along the Gulf Coast are going to get hit. The western side of the storm is going to hit Alabama and Mississippi. Again, heavy rains and high winds. Winds of probably up to 100 miles per hour. The outer bands of the hurricane to the west and to the east. Everyone needs to be prepared. Everyone needs to be prepared. Again, I'm going to ask, does anybody have any questions for me? It's important. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it a lot over the next few days. For those of you living in the Keys of Florida, southern and central Florida, and upwards of northern Florida where this hurricane is going to go inland, do not, I repeat, do not have hurricane parties. Do not be drunk. I'm talking to you folks that drink a lot of alcohol. Don't do it. There is a very big possibility that if you get drunk at your own hurricane parties, and if someone at your party, even yourself, gets hurt, and you are found to be inebriated, you can be arrested for sacrificing lives and the possibility of interfering with law enforcement. Don't do it. Don't do it. If this storm gets as bad as I believe it's going to be, first responders won't even get to you. First responders won't even be able to get to you because of high water and storm conditions. Do not have these storm parties. You can eat. You can drink carbonated beverages, but stay away from the alcohol. Don't get drunk. Do not get drunk. You will be dealt with harshly by law enforcement and other first responders. Don't do it. Mary Undoer of Knott's says, thank goodness she doesn't drink alcohol. I don't either. I don't either. I don't like alcohol. I spent my law enforcement years telling people not to be drunk. I set up DUI sobriety checkpoints, catching people who were driving drunk. I went to court on these people, and I put them away for a lot of time. A lot of time. Don't do it. Don't do it. Now, you're going to be hearing in the next day or so from Governor DeSantis of Florida. He's going to make some statements that I want everybody to pay attention to, and we will broadcast these to you, because I want everybody to understand emphatically what this storm's going to do. It's not going to be a friendly storm. It's not Casper the Friendly Ghost or anything like unto it. Don't do it. Don't do it. My dear friend Sage Puppet's here. Use common sense, people who want to party and think it's a joke and gets themselves hurt or others hurt. Don't do it. Thank you, Sage Puppet. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Every time we get one of these hurricanes, all of a sudden, people decide to drink and party up. This is not the time to do it. Just because it's been done in the past doesn't mean that people can do it now. Don't do it. Okay? Now I'm going to shift to earthquakes. I took some time today to pull up the tremor map from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. Why did I do it? Because this is where the seismologists say we have a lot of tremors. I'm going to start down in the Lake Shasta, Mount Shasta area. There's a handful of tremors down there, about 10 or 15 tremors down in the Shasta National Park. Okay? However, we have a ton of tremors. We have a ton of tremors north and west of Medford, Oregon. You can see these here. There's probably close to 200 tremors there. Maybe even 250 tremors there. Up over here in Olympia, Washington. Olympia, Washington. We have some tremors over here in the Puget Sound. Now, it's not just tremors. If I was to pull up the seismograms in this area, it would not just be tremors. We've had some earthquakes as well. We've had some 2.2, 2.4, 2.5, and even 3.0 earthquakes here. But USGS will not say it at all. They're not broadcasting this information. Further north, just over here to the south and east of Victoria, Vancouver Island. Over in this area, there are a ton of tremors and earthquakes as well. Okay? Loomy Island, Orca Island, Orca Airport, Nema, LaSalle, Washington. All these areas, folks, have had a bunch of tremors and earthquakes. This is not the only warning we're going to give you. This is not the only warning of earthquakes we're going to give you. But this is important that you understand what is going on. Again, we are expecting a major earthquake to hit this area within the next 5 years. There are some people that believe that will happen long before then. And that's fine. It may very well happen before then. But I'm giving it no more than 5 years before we have a major Cascadia megathrust earthquake where we have shock waves of 9.0, 10.0 earthquakes going off. And then we have a subsequent tsunami. Be advised, it's coming. I promise you, it's coming. Now, with that said, I'm going to take this down. I'm going to put up an earthquake just off the central coast of Vancouver Island. As you can see, this is a 3.4 earthquake. This is a 3.4 small earthquake. This happened earlier this morning. Okay? Folks, this had a depth of 6 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. This is 254 kilometers south-southwest of Port Hardy, Vancouver, British Columbia. It's out at sea. But you also need to know it's on the Juan de Fuca Plate. This is on the Juan de Fuca Plate. Now, you can see other earthquakes here. Okay? Now, I put this information box here, and it's blocking other earthquakes here. But you can see earthquakes north of there, going up towards Queen Charlotte, or what they call Haida Gwaii now. We're calling Queen Charlotte Island Haida Gwaii now. There are earthquakes there. You can see earthquakes in yellow from 2 weeks ago. The brown earthquakes are within the last 3 to 4 days, spanning up to a week's time period. Earthquakes throughout this area. Okay? This is in preparation for a Cascadia megathrust earthquake. I want to make this point perfectly clear. Stephen Braden, thank you very much for that $10 super chat. We appreciate it. I just gave you an EMA sticker here, and I'm also giving you a thumbs up. Thank you very much for your support. Thanks for that super chat. We greatly appreciate it to help this program to stay on the air. Now, does anybody have any questions about earthquakes and tremors in the Pacific Northwest? I'm happy to entertain those questions now. Sometimes you've had questions about this, and I have no qualms about answering any questions about earthquakes in the Cascadia subduction area. And that's definitely where this is. Even though this earthquake is on the Juan de Fuca Fault, it's also in the area of the Cascadia subduction zone, just to the west. This is a very dangerous area. A very dangerous area. Just south of here is where we're going to see the Cascadia megathrust earthquake, a 9.0, 10.0 magnitude quake. A very devastating quake. Dustin, thank you for being here as well. We appreciate you here. Mark, thank you so much for being here. All right, let me take this down. Now I'm going to specifically talk about earthquakes. Earthquakes in Southern California. Before I do that, I want to show you this. Yesterday, the Secret Service and the FBI revealed that Mr. Ryan Routh, R-O-U-T-H, had a letter that law enforcement picked up from his home. This was a letter detailing that the Trump assassination was a conspiracy. The Trump assassination was a conspiracy. There's multiple people involved with this conspiracy for assassination of President Trump. There are 5 different factions. 2 factions that are within political framework. 3 factions, 3 organizations from outside this country. Russia, China, and Ukraine. President Trump is still in danger. You can go to this man's program, Benny Johnson here on YouTube. Benny Johnson here on YouTube. It's called The Benny Show. You can find out all kinds of information from this one show that happened yesterday. Benny Johnson has done multiple shows since yesterday morning when this particular show occurred. Okay? But not just that. Mr. Routh's son has been arrested today. He was arrested today on charges of possession and distribution of child pornography. Distribution and possession of child pornography. A lot of files. I don't remember how many files right now, but his son was arrested today as well. So they are both in jail. But this letter proves that this was a conspiracy to kill President Trump. I offer prayers for President Trump and his family, and Senator Vance and his family, because I believe the Democrat Party, the Democrat Communist Party of America, are responsible for what has happened. This has never happened in our history. It has never happened in any point in our history where a president of the United States is under condemnation by a political party to this extent, where they're willing to take his life, willing to put up money, $150,000 bounty on President Trump's head. $150,000 bounty on President Trump's head. And guess what? It is the politicians that have funded this bounty. It is the politicians that have funded this bounty. Unreal. Diane Kelman says she cringes when she hears child pornography. I do too. My wife goes quiet and then she has a slow boil. Children are important in our society. Children are sacred. Children are sacred. Sacred lives. And we have people, not just in this country, but worldwide, that exploit children and murder children. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. It upsets me greatly. Heidi Pedrick just gifted 5 Emergency Management Associates memberships. Thank you so much, Heidi. We appreciate that so much. Berlinda Mustafi was gifted a membership. Kelly Ripa was gifted a membership. Cheryl M. was gifted a membership. Miss Constitutional Rights was gifted a membership. Lorraine Blomgren was gifted a membership. MT Jen was gifted a membership. You folks should thank Heidi Petrick for doing that for you. God bless you all. And thank you for joining our membership of our program here on Emergency Management Associates. Late tomorrow morning or early tomorrow afternoon, we're going to have our first members-only meeting. I hope you all can join us. I hope you all can join us because it's going to be a great meeting. Anyway, does anybody have any questions about the bounty that was placed on President Trump's head or the conspiracy to kill President Trump? I believe the FBI and the Secret Service are in on it. I believe the FBI and the Secret Service are in on it. Diane Cummins says children are a gift from heaven. They're not to be made money from, I agree. And it's so sad. Terry Times Transition says, so sad for the children. It is very sad. I've never before in my life had such horror when I've seen this happen. Anyway, guys, we have more things to talk about. I specifically want to talk to you about earthquakes in Southern California. So let's go to Southern California. I wish we could just get on a boat and go right now, or get on a plane and go to Southern California. Now, I don't want to live there. For those of you that live in Southern California, I apologize right now. I used to live there until April 2000. When I moved away, I said that I would never be back. Yes, I love Southern California. I love the surf. But the last 3 years of my life in Southern California, I never even saw a beach. Yes, I saw the harbor. I did see the harbor. But I never did see a beach. At all. Not at all. Now, I first want to go over into Bakersfield, California, out to the desert area of Bakersfield, California. I want to show you this. Look what's happening here. No, we do not have any earthquakes except for possibly one. Up here in the top right corner here. This earthquake happened after 5:14 a.m. this morning. Possibly only a 2.0, but I believe it was only a 1.7 tremor on that black line. It was either a 1.7 tremor or a 2.0 earthquake. But on this particular seismogram here, coming out as Bakersfield, all we are seeing are tremors here. This is the San Andreas Fault. The San Andreas Fault here in Bakersfield. Now, I will talk tonight more about the high desert of California. I'm going to talk a lot about the high desert of California. Please be aware of it. Please be aware of it. Now, I want to go over to a couple other desert areas. Idlewild, California. For years now, we've been talking about Idlewild, California. This is in the western side of the San Bernardino Mountains. This is in the mountains. However, it is also considered to be in the high desert in the San Bernardino Mountains here. Notice here, all we are seeing here are tremors. Almost consistently tremors. 1.1, 1.2 tremors. However, there are a couple 1.3, 1.4 tremors here. And you can see the larger tremors here on this seismogram. Okay? Idlewild, out in the desert area of California. I also want to go out to Rancho Mirage. Rancho Mirage, California. Now, the seismograms that you're going to see tonight are showing where Caltech and or USGS turned off the seismograph. They turned off the seismograph almost all throughout Southern California today. Between 6:15 this morning, 6 6:15 this morning until just before 7:30 this morning. Almost 2 hours. Actually, it was just over 2 hours where they turned off the seismograph. Why? Are they trying to hide something from us? Did we have larger earthquakes during that time out here in the desert area of California? That remains to be seen. Rancho Mirage, California had lots of tremors. You can see that here. Ranging anywhere from 1.0 tremors on up to 1.5 tremors here. This is what's going on out here in the desert area of California. Rancho Mirage, California. Again, this is the San Andreas Fault out here. I want to go out to the desert area of Riverside. Good old Riverside. Now again, you're seeing where the agencies turned off the seismograph. In this particular location, they turned it off just after 5:15 this morning, turned it back on at 5:30 for about 6 minutes, and then turned it off again for another 5 minutes, and turned it on again for another 5 minutes. Then they turned it off for over 2.5 hours. Why? What is the agency hiding by turning the seismograph off? What are they hiding? Now, we don't have any reports of big earthquakes or people complain of a lot of shaking going on. We have not heard anything. But what are the agencies hiding by turning these seismographs off? Okay? Now I'm going over to San Jacinto campus in Hemet, California. San Jacinto campus in Hemet, California. Look at this. This again is showing you that they turned off the seismograph again. But this time, they turned it off just before 6 a.m. Then they turned it back on at 6:11. I'm sorry, that's not true. They turned it back on at 6:20. 6:20 a.m. They kept it on for 5 minutes and then they turned it off again for another 2 hours. Why? Here in Hemet, California at San Jacinto campus, this is a community college. Community college here. You see tons of tremors here. A lot of tremors. 1.3 to 1.5, 1.6, and 1.7 tremors. All over this seismogram. Seismogram tells it all. But it doesn't answer the fact that the agency's seismologists turned the machine on. Why? Let's go out to Victorville, California. The same thing holds true out here in Victorville. Victorville is where one of my best friends lives. Isaiah's granny. I don't see Isaiah's granny here. But Isaiah's granny lives out here in Victorville. Here you've seen a lot of time early this morning where the agency turned off the seismograph. The seismograph, the machine was turned off. Turned back on for a short period of time, turned it off again. Several times. Over 2 hours the last time. And all you see here are tremors, ranging in size up to 1.7, maybe 1.8 tremor. That's an awful lot of tremor activity out here in Victorville, but it's normal. That is completely normal out here in Victorville. Again, in Victorville, this is the San Andreas Fault. Now, why am I emphasizing the San Andreas Fault tonight? There is a report out that Elon Musk did. Elon Musk has revealed that he believes that we're going to have a major earthquake in Southern California on the San Andreas Fault before the end of this year. Elon Musk is stating that we are going to have a major earthquake on the San Andreas Fault between now and the end of this year. I have to agree with him. I have felt this way for a very long time. Again, I'm going to tell all of you, we have a friend of ours living over in near the Ridgecrest area, Callie. If you're listening, you need to tell your friends, all of your relatives out in that area, batten down the hatches. You guys are going to have a major earthquake very soon. You guys are going to have a major earthquake very soon. Isaiah's granny, you are also going to see this earthquake coming. Please notify your family and your friends, your sons and daughters-in-law. Batten down the hatches. This is going to be a major earthquake. By major earthquake, I'm talking a 7.0 plus earthquake. A 7 plus magnitude earthquake. It's going to devastate this area even up through Riverside, California. I'm just putting that out there. I want you to be very aware of what's happening. Very, very aware of what's happening. I'm going now and showing you Joshua Tree National Park. This is out of the Forest Service, out in the desert of Joshua Tree. All you're seeing here are minor tremors here. That's all that's going on here. Microquakes and tremors out here in Joshua Tree. But again, the San Andreas Fault is alive and well. And the agencies are not being honest with anybody about what's happening. You need to be very well aware of what's happening. That's all I'm going to say. Everyone needs to be very much aware of what's going on. Because it's going to come out like a thief in the night. And by that time, it's going to be too late. Let's go out to Pasadena, California. I'm going out to the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California. Here we see a couple of tremors. One tremor happened after 10:49 a.m. this morning on the green line on the right. The next one was just about 10:11 a.m. 10:11 a.m. here in Pasadena. Both of these are just minor tremors. This largest was maybe a 1.2, 1.3 tremor. But again, Pasadena is still shaking. Pasadena, California is still shaking. About 1 month ago, we had a large earthquake here. A 5.1 earthquake. It's still shaking. USGS and Caltech usually don't report any tremors at all in Pasadena. But they've been happening. And the seismogram proves it. Sage Pup says he doesn't see Isaiah's granny here in the chat. She doesn't often go in the chat anymore. But if you guys see her on one of the chat rooms, and I will send her a message myself because I have her email and such, I will notify her what I've told all of you. Okay? Be aware. Los Angeles is still shaking. Now, let's go over into Los Angeles itself. Then I'm going to go over in San Diego County, and then we're going to go down into the Imperial Valley of Southern California. Let's go over to Baldwin Hills. Baldwin Hills is the Los Angeles portion of the huge oil and gas fracking operation in Los Angeles, just northwest of downtown LA, the Baldwin Hills. East of the Baldwin Hills, we have a huge housing development. And by huge, I'm talking about probably close to 50,000 people over in this area. Here in Baldwin Hills, we are having nothing but tremors here. Tremors. 1.3, 1.4 tremors max. Again, this time, we also see a time period here just after about 7:05, 7:06 a.m. this morning where they turned off the seismograph. Turned off the seismograph completely. They turned it off until 7:45 a.m. this morning. For about 40 minutes it was off. Why are the seismologists doing this? It's rampant. This is rampant through all the seismographs throughout Southern California. I've never seen this hilly-willy deal with the seismographs being turned off. Let's go over to the communities north of Los Angeles. Del Amo, California. Now, we've talked a lot about the communities north of Los Angeles. Look what we're seeing here. Again, they turned off the seismographs several times today, this morning. The same time, we're having earthquakes. We're having 1.7, 1.8 tremors and full-blown 2.0, 2.3, 2.4 earthquakes. Minor earthquakes, but earthquakes nonetheless. Now, you see what happened after 7:30 on the blue line here. It starts off being side to side, top to bottom color. Side to side, top to bottom color. Earthquakes and tremors. In this case, they turned off the seismograph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes after, they turned off at 7:35 this morning. They waited 5 minutes and turned it back on. Then they left it on throughout the rest of the day until I pulled the seismogram here just after 4:15. Look at that. This is a lot of seismic activity here just north of Los Angeles. And this is not the only place it's happening. That's Del Amo. Let's go out to Chino, California. Chino, California, look at this. This is typically what we see now in Chino. Tremors galore. It didn't used to be this way. It was off and on tremors and off and on 2.0, 2.3 earthquakes. This is almost constant tremors now and interspersed with 2.0 earthquakes. That's what's going on here in Chino, California. But again, the seismologists turned off the seismograph at 6:45 a.m. this morning. They did not turn it back on until 7:30, and then 5 minutes later they turned it off for another 5 minutes and turned it on after that for the rest of the day. But again, we're seeing tremors and minor earthquakes over in Chino, California today. That's getting to be typical of what we see. Let's go over to a community north of Los Angeles again, to Ellis, California. We almost never saw earthquakes here in Ellis, California before. Now, we're not just seeing tremors. We're not just seeing minor earthquakes at all. Up here at the top, at 7:45 on the green line here, what we're seeing some 3.0 earthquakes. We're seeing 3.0 earthquakes. right off the bat after 7:45 this morning. Then it calms down for another minute and a half. Then it starts picking up to 2.7, 2.8 again. Within a minute after that, it turns into another 3.0 earthquake. And within a minute after that, another series of 3.0 small earthquakes. Then it calms down for another minute and a half, and then we have more 3.0 activity. Look at this. All after 7:45 this morning on this green line. Then, on this black line at 8 a.m. this morning. Just after 8 a.m., you see another 3.0 earthquake here on the black line. Small 3.0 this morning after 8 a.m. as well. After that, we get back to tremors. Off and on, we had some 2.0 earthquakes here as well. You can see where it gets to be larger tremors and even 2.0 earthquakes. Then, again, I pulled this seismogram here just after 2:45, about 2:50 this afternoon. At about 2:51 p.m. this afternoon, we had another 2.0 earthquake. 2:50 this afternoon, we had a 2.0 earthquake again. This is getting to be an awful lot of earthquake activity in Los Angeles. And yet, the United States Geological Survey is not showing us on the map. There isn't even one 2.0 earthquake here. They said there was a 2.2 earthquake in Southern California today. I did not have or get a chance to check where the USGS said that was. But here you're seeing not just 2.0, you're also seeing up to 3.0 here in Ellis, California. No joke. No joke. Small earthquakes hitting Los Angeles, California. And nobody's talking about it. Let's go east to Fontana, California. Fontana. Look at this. Folks, we've been seeing earthquakes here for some time now. There was a time for about 2 or 3 years, all we'd see here was sporadic, and I'm saying sporadic, tremors. Yes, we're still seeing tremors here, but we are also seeing full-blown earthquakes here. 2.0 up to 3.0 earthquakes here. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. Fontana, California. This is also just west of the San Andreas Fault. Just west of the San Andreas Fault. No joke. No joke at all. We're getting hit, guys. We're getting hit. About 3 weeks ago, we had a 5.0 earthquake out here just east of Fontana. And you saw all kinds of activity here in Fontana. Banning, California as well. But you see what's going on. You're seeing what's going on here. The San Andreas Fault is beginning to explode. The USGS is not saying anything. They're covering it up. They're covering it up. Let's go over to Laguna Bell. Laguna, California, on the southwest side of Los Angeles. Again, we're seeing a bunch of tremors here. A lot of tremors. Now, we've seen an increase in tremor activity. We've seen an increase in strength of the tremors as well. This is showing an increase in tremor activity here in Laguna, California. There are a lot of people with a lot of expensive homes in Laguna, California. When the San Andreas Fault goes off, Southern California is going to be hit tremendously with seismic activity. It's going to trigger all of the seismic earthquake faults all over the LA Valley, all over the LA Basin. Now, Canadian Patriot, one of my best friends in Canada, he's over in northeastern Canada. He's not going to feel this. When the San Andreas fault goes off, it is not going to affect Canada. It's not going to affect New York either. I'm going to read to you a report that I pulled up about seismic activity in New York. You need to know about it. It is happening. Okay. I want to show you more. No, before that. I want to go out again up into eastern Los Angeles. Mariloma, California here. When we had that 5.0 large activity over on the San Andreas Fault east of Montana, Mariloma also burst out with 3.0 earthquakes. Today, all we're seeing here are a lot of tremors. Heavy-duty tremor activity here. 1.3, 1.4 tremors. I don't see anything big, but it's almost constant. Except for the time that the agencies turned off the seismograph. Except for that time that they turned off the seismograph, we had constant tremor activity. Why they turned it off, we'll never know. Because they're not going to talk about it. I checked. That's Mariloma, California. Let's go north of Los Angeles, northwest Los Angeles, up to Moore Park. Look at this. Again, we're seeing heavy-duty tremor activity. We have at least two 2.0 earthquakes. One of these earthquakes happened, and I believe it was a 2.4 earthquake that happened just about 6:08 a.m. this morning. 2.3, 2.4 earthquake. The next 2.0 that happened this afternoon, just after 2:46 this afternoon on the bottom left side of this green line. 2.0 earthquake there. Okay? Moore Park, California. Yes, we have seen 3.0 earthquakes happening at Moore Park. Today wasn't that way. Only 2 minor earthquakes, and the rest of this is all tremors. Moore Park, California. Now, I want to go west to Rancho Palos Verdes. We have talked about a lot of seismic activity in Rancho Palos Verdes. We talked a lot about power outages, where LA Power and Light, Southern California Edison, turned off the power in 2 different housing developments in Rancho Palos Verdes. RPV, as they say. The power's still out. Some people brought power generators into that area and have stayed in their homes. There has been an evacuation, mandatory evacuation from some parts of Rancho Palos Verdes because of the landslides. Here we're seeing a bunch of tremors. Here we're seeing tremors this morning and this afternoon. Now, there is one tremor, possibly earthquake, that I am considering very suspect, that may have to do with a landslide. This happened after 1:49 this afternoon. You see it here on the green line, 1:49 this afternoon. This appears to be a 2.0, 2.2 earthquake. This may have been another landslide here in Rancho Palos Verdes. My wife was born just west of Rancho Palos Verdes. She has friends there. So we're very concerned about what's going on there. Richard Smith says another 2.8 earthquake happened in Southern California with a depth of 14 kilometers. Interesting. 7 miles deep. 2.8 earthquake in Southern California. Richard, did they specify exactly where that earthquake hit? I'd be interested because it would be the second or third 2.0 plus earthquake there today that they've told us about. Only the earthquakes that they've told us about. Now, I want to go over to Rinaldi, again just east of Los Angeles. Good old Rinaldi. Tremors there. This is usually always see at Rinaldi. Nothing but tremors. And yes, you see some larger tremor activity here, but just tremors. No real earthquakes here at Rinaldi so far. We have had earthquakes here in the past. Let's go to Rio Hondo. Rio Hondo, we've seen nothing but tremors here. Again, we see a time period here this morning where they turned off the seismograph. It seems like they've done it across the board, for whatever reason. But here we see nothing but tremors here. Rio Hondo, California. Let's keep going here. I want to go over to Santa Monica. This is Santa Monica today. This happens to be Santa Monica Field. This is an old municipal airport in Santa Monica, California. Nothing but tremors here. However, the tremors here are more tremors than we've seen out here at Santa Monica Field in the past. There's been fewer tremors here in the past than we're seeing here now, which means there's been an increase of seismicity in Los Angeles overall. Now I want to take you over to Anaheim. This is State Street over in Anaheim. This near Disneyland and near Knott's Berry Farm. Some of you know exactly what we're talking about. Some of you may have been at Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm before, as I have. Look what we're seeing. In the past, we've seen tremors here. But during the past, I want to say 2 months, we've seen more and more 3.0 earthquakes as we're seeing here. We're seeing a lot of 3.0 small earthquakes here. We're also seeing minor earthquakes here as well. 2.0 to 2.9 minor earthquakes and a lot of 3.0 small earthquakes. State Street. State Street. Anaheim, California, Anaheim, California, Knott's Berry Farm, and Disneyland. Knott's Berry Farm and Disneyland. That's a lot of activity. It's an increase in seismic activity. But again, they turned off the seismograph early this morning. Otherwise, it probably would have been ongoing all day long. Literally. Literally. No joke. Let's look at Long Beach, California. The same thing holds true here, except I only see a couple of times where we had 3.0 earthquakes early this morning. When those times was after 7:01 a.m. on the blue line here, and it's very apparent because before that time they turned off the seismograph. They turned off the seismograph. And then again, 7:05 a.m. this morning, another 3.0 earthquake. 3.0 small earthquake. All the rest of these are tremors and minor earthquakes. I believe there's a lot of 2.0 earthquakes here. Minor earthquakes. 2.0, 2.9 are considered to be minor earthquakes, and I don't see any 2.5 to 2.9. These are 2.0 earthquakes. 2 small 3.0s, and the rest 2.0s and tremors. Long Beach. Light hype in Long Beach. Interesting at the very least. Interesting at the very least. Let's go over to the University of Southern California, Los Angeles. Look at this. Nothing but tremors here, except there is an exception here. Just after 8:30 this morning, we had a 2.0 earthquake here. Just after 8:30 this morning on the blue line, we had a 2.0 earthquake. Other than that, these are all tremors here. These are all tremors. And again, the agency turned off the seismograph this morning, early this morning. Whatever the reason, it's not a good enough reason, whatever it might be. Okay? Now I want to go out to southeastern Los Angeles. Walnut, La Puente, California. Look what we're seeing here. We see this activity all the time. This is the Walnut, La Puente caldera. This happens to be a volcano in Los Angeles. We see this kind of activity all the time. Yes, we have tremors here, but you're also seeing at least 3.0 earthquakes. At least 3.0 earthquakes. In some cases, they've topped off the bottom and the top of the earthquake sequence. Those earthquakes may have been even larger than 3.0. And you can see throughout this seismogram exactly what I'm talking about. There's one specific time period, well, a couple that I want to talk about. One was after 11 a.m. this morning. 11:08 this morning. Between 11:08 and 11:11 a.m. this morning. A series of earthquakes. 3.0 and larger earthquakes this morning. Possibly as large as a 4.0 earthquake. They topped off the bottom and the top of that sequence as well. And again at 2:10 p.m. this afternoon to 2:13 p.m. Then at 2:20 p.m. this afternoon. 2:20 p.m. this afternoon on the red line. 2:19 this afternoon. Another sequence where they topped the bottom and the top off of it. Look at that. This is a volcano area. This is a volcano area. Yes, we are having earthquakes here. Every time we've had a volcano anywhere, we're seeing this activity all the time. Literally all the time. It's happening. Richard Smith says, holy jumping tuna sandwiches. Jumping tuna sandwiches, that's funny. That's funny. Snap, crackle, and pop. Canadian Patriot One's here saying, I'm not surprised, Arnold. They're all capable of that. Even the small electronic equipment. Yeah. But 3.0 to 4.0 earthquakes here. This happens every day. This is nothing new. This happens every day here in Los Angeles. Walnut, La Puente caldera here in Los Angeles. Now I want to take you into San Diego County. Lo and behold, San Diego County. Well, no, before that. Two more. The downtown Los Angeles building. There is an emergency operations center in downtown Los Angeles at the downtown county city headquarters of LA. Never do they show anything here but tremors. But again, this time they turned off the seismograph after 5 a.m. Maybe before that, they turned it off. They turned it on again for 4.5 minutes. 5:30 this morning, they turned it on again for 4.5 minutes, and then they turned it off again. This time for another 2.5 hours. But here, they never show anything but tremors. Even when we've had 5.0 earthquakes north of Los Angeles in Pasadena and over in the Grapevine, they never really show the earthquakes here at the LA City County building. For whatever reason. Crazy. I want to go over to Watts. Good old Watts, California. Watts is an area I told you I got caught in a couple different times during my life in Southern California. I drove over through Watts twice. Once I stopped at a 7-Eleven store for directions, and there's a guy behind the counter said, "You don't belong here. You're white. You need to get out of here immediately." He was warning me. There were gang members all around me on the way out. And I drove like a bat out of hell getting out of Watts. Not a good area to be in. Or Culver City for that matter. Anyway, this is Watts, California, Los Angeles. Now we do have an earthquake that bothers me this morning. This happened just after 7:46 this morning on this green line here that you see here. Prior to the 7:45 time period, they turned off the seismograph since about 6:40 this morning. They turned it off for about 20 minutes this morning, kept it on for another 6 minutes and turned it off again for another 2 hours. That's why we can see this earthquake here. A 2.8, 2.9 earthquake at 7:46 a.m. this morning. All the rest of these are tremors except for two others. One was after 2:01 p.m. this afternoon. Again, another instance where we had 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes. Then another one at approximately 2:03 this afternoon. 2:03 this afternoon, we had another 2.8, 2.9 earthquake sequence. The first was 1 or 2, and then the second one was 2 or 3 earthquakes back to back. That is an awful lot of earthquake activity in Watts. This is the first time I've ever seen that much activity in Watts, California. Okay? Let's go into San Diego City. San Diego County, I should say. I want to go over to San Diego Mission Control in northern Mission Valley, San Diego. This is the San Diego Gas and Electric Building in San Diego County. San Diego City. This is the North Mission Valley. Look at this. This is the most activity I've ever seen in Mission Control here in San Diego. These are all tremors, but this is the most activity I've seen. Okay? This is the Rose Canyon Fault. This Rose Canyon Fault comes from Los Angeles. Up in Los Angeles, it's known as the Newport-Inglewood Fault. The Newport-Inglewood Fault goes out into the harbor in Los Angeles and goes out to sea a little bit. As that fault line goes south from Los Angeles, it turns into the Rose Canyon Fault. The Rose Canyon Fault continues down the coast of California until it reaches approximately Encinitas, California, North San Diego County. Then the Rose Canyon Fault goes inland. and continues to follow the coastline of San Diego until it gets out into San Diego City. Once it reaches downtown San Diego, it goes into San Diego Harbor. But this is San Diego City in Mission Valley. This is approximately 8 miles north of where the earthquake fault goes out into San Diego Harbor. You're seeing a bunch of tremors here. Okay? Again, this is coming out of Los Angeles. We've seen the Newport Inglewood Fault in action before. We've seen earthquakes in Los Angeles today. It's no small surprise we're seeing these earthquakes in Mission Valley, San Diego County. No small surprise at all. Now, I've got another place here in San Diego I want to talk about. This is southeast San Diego County, just north of the U.S.-Mexican border. This is Campo Elementary School. Campo Elementary School. You may have heard me talk about school buses out here, where illegals tried to commandeer school buses and steal school buses full of school children out here in Campo, California. Today here in Campo you see tremors. You see tremors here. But what happened after 2 p.m. today? Over in the bottom left-hand corner, 2 p.m. today. This is a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake here. This is just north of the San Diego County border with Mexico. Campo, California. Southeast County, San Diego. Southeast County, San Diego. Okay? All the rest of this is tremors in Campo. But that 2.8, 2.9 earthquake worries me. Because that tells me there's a lot of seismic activity down there, near the border. Richard Smith says it looks twisted. You're right. Guess what happened with that? The reason it looks twisted is because there was a seismologist that tampered with the seismograph. Tampered with it. The only way that could have happened is if someone tampered with the machine. That's how that happens. Pam Miller says Sagepup meant Compton is a bad area to drive through. Absolutely it is. I had friends that lived there. They loved their condominium there. But it's not just a good place to be at all. It's not a good place at all. I'm just telling you. Okay? Let's go east. Let's go east into the Imperial Valley. I want to take you now over to Westmoreland. This is the southwestern side of the Salton Sea, Westmoreland, California. Here we see nothing but tremors today. And again, they tampered with the seismograph here because the seismograph here was on until approximately 7:10 this morning, and they turned it off for 45 minutes. Then they turned it on again for 5 minutes and turned it off again for 5 minutes and then turned it on again. And it stayed on. But all we have here are tremors in Westmoreland. Westmoreland. This is the western side of where the San Andreas Fault is. Or, if you want to call it the Imperial Fault, you can. Because just before it gets to the Salton Sea, it enters Imperial Valley. And at that point, the people in the Imperial Valley call it the Imperial Fault. The Imperial Fault. Let's go over to the North Shore Imperial Valley. I want to show you this. This is over on the northeast side of the Salton Sea. Here you see nothing but tremors. Again, this is the San Andreas Fault or the Imperial Fault that is showing you that is causing these tremors here. Nothing but tremors here at the North Shore Salton Sea. North Shore is just a small town over here on the northeast side of the Salton Sea. Just a very small town, maybe 2,000 people, tops. Then we continue down the center side, the center east side of the Salton Sea. We come to a town called Bombay Beach. It's not really a town at all. Bombay Beach is where the Salton Sea has the Imperial Fault going underneath it. The Imperial Fault goes underneath the Salton Sea here at Bombay Beach. Here you guys are seeing 2.8, 2.9, and 3.0 earthquakes here. Some of this activity can be attributed to the Salton Butte volcano to the south. Some of this might be attributed to the Salton Butte volcano far to the south. Okay, at this point, this is about 50 miles northeast from the Salton Butte volcano. But we are seeing constant earthquakes here. 2.8, 2.9, 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes every day, multiple times a day here at Bombay Beach. Then we go south from there to the southern side of the Salton Sea. Here we have another seismograph here at Calipatria. I've shown you the Calipatria seismogram here many times before. It used to be we'd see 75 to 150 earthquakes here every day. Every day. Yesterday evening, we started seeing this seismograph record earthquakes at 3 p.m. 1500 hours over here on the top left. 3 p.m. Here we see tremors. We see tremors all over this area. Now, what you're seeing, thicker lines here. You're seeing thicker lines that diminish into thinner lines. That is called magma pulse signals. Magma PULSC signals. The thicker lines signify more magma coming into the magma chamber, and thinner lines showing less magma coming into the magma chamber of this volcano, the Salton Butte volcano. Now, over here on this dark blue line here, you're seeing a 2.0, 2.1 earthquake. A 2.0, 2.1 earthquake at approximately 6 p.m. Actually 6 p.m. over on the left-hand side. This would be 6:12 p.m. here, yesterday evening. We see nothing but tremors after that. Then, as they usually do, what I believe they do, after, say, 10, 11 o'clock at night, they turn down the seismograph. They turn down the seismograph so it doesn't show anything going on. Because like I said, up until about 6 months ago, we were having a ton of tremors. A ton of tremors and minor earthquakes all day and all night long. We're not seeing that now. If we see earthquakes here yesterday evening, last night, all night long, we're not seeing it. That tells me the seismographer or seismologist turned down the machine. This does not normally happen. The seismogram usually shows a ton of tremors and earthquakes. It's not doing that. That tells me they turned down the seismograph. They turned down the seismicity here, so it's not going to show anything. If it does show something, that means the strength of the signal had to overcome the turndown of the electronics of the machine. The signal had to overcome the turndown of the electronics of the machine. Why am I saying that? Look what happened the rest of the day. As soon as we get past 5:30, 6 o'clock this morning, as soon as we get past that time period, all of a sudden the number of tremors and earthquakes increase. The number of tremors and earthquakes increase. Then as we go through the day, look what happens. Look what happens. More earthquakes. More magma coming into the magma chamber. Each line here is indicative of 15-minute time period. Each horizontal line here is indicative of a 15-minute time period. The thicker the lines, the more magma is coming into the magma chamber, the Salton Butte volcano. And look at the earthquakes here. Look at the earthquakes here. Now, at the very bottom of this seismogram, I'm not seeing earthquakes. I am seeing steam signals. These lines don't have a middle point to them. If you see a vertical line that has a middle dot in it, that means it's an earthquake. We're not seeing that. This is steam being released from the volcano. These are steam signals. Steam being released from the volcano, the Salton Butte volcano. The Salton Butte volcano is underwater. The Salton Butte volcano itself is underwater. The Salton Butte volcano is capable of a 7.0 earthquake. The Salton Butte volcano is capable of a 7.0 earthquake. It is releasing steam. The Salton Butte volcano is a very active volcano. Okay? I want everybody to understand this. This is what we're seeing here. This is the biggest steam release I've ever seen at the Salton Butte volcano. The biggest steam release at Salton Butte volcano ever. Scott Carrico said something specific about San Diego. He said Logan Heights in San Diego is like Compton in Los Angeles. It really is. Logan Heights was part of my patrol area in San Diego. I had 7 major gangs in my patrol area. 7 major gangs in my patrol area. Most of those gangs were Hispanic and black gangs. The Bloods and the Crips in San Diego and Logan Heights. We also had MS-13 and a couple other Mexican gangs there. 7 major gangs over in Logan Heights in San Diego. It's a very dangerous area. Now, I was cornered there by gangs one night, early one evening one summer. I was cornered in Logan Heights at about 30th Street. It was not pleasant. I was surrounded by gangs. They were throwing rocks and bottles at my police car. They were kicking my police car from the side, the roof, and the hood of the car, and the trunk of the car, smashing it. I was able to get off a call via my handy-talkie because they took down and trampled on my outside roof antenna from my police radio. They kicked it off. They're trying to destroy my light bar, which they were not able to do. But I was able to get off a police call on my radio. And within minutes, I had the cavalry. Both federal police, my guys, and San Diego police. They surrounded my car and saved my life. Juvie Joe is asking, Ron, about what year? I believe it was probably 1997. I think it was about 1997. Incredible. It didn't leave me with a good feeling about Logan Heights. Barrio Logan, as they called it. Not a good place to be caught by yourself. And that was the only time I was ever caught alone without a partner in Logan Heights. Unreal. Unreal. Does anybody have any questions about Imperial Valley? This is important. This is important. Let me show you one other place, well, a couple of other places here. If we go straight south from Westmoreland, we come to a town called Imperial. Imperial. Look what we're seeing in Imperial. Look at this. We're seeing tremors. We're also seeing multiple 3.0 earthquakes. See these curved lines here? These curved lines are magma earthquakes, magma-caused earthquakes. Magma-caused earthquakes. There are plenty of small earthquakes here. Now there is an earthquake sequence just after 1:40 p.m. this afternoon on this blue line to the bottom right. Again, they cut off the top and the bottom of this sequence, which means it was probably larger than a 3.0, probably pushing 4.0 earthquake. It would not be surprising, because several other seismographs recorded this earthquake. Several other seismographs recorded this earthquake. That's a lot of seismic energy over there in the Imperial Valley. Let's go off and go west over to El Centro. My buddy Juanito, many of you throughout the years have seen Juanito in the chat. Last year, he and his wife sent my wife and I, our dogs, Christmas presents, which we greatly appreciated. Juanito and his family lives over in El Centro. Good old El Centro. Look what we have to show you today. El Centro. Still showing us those same kind of earthquakes that we saw over in the town of Imperial to the northeast. This is another place where we saw that same earthquake showing in Imperial here in El Centro. This is almost 20 miles southwest of Imperial. Incredible, huh? Incredible. 3.0, 3.5, possibly even a 4.0 earthquake here this afternoon. Crazy. This is insane, guys. This is insane. Now, I think I skipped an earthquake here. I think I skipped an earthquake. I'm going back through my let's see here. Oh, let's see, where would it be? I missed Holtville. I missed Holtville here. Yes, I did. Okay, I'm going to show you Holtville next. Holtville is south and east of Imperial and El Centro, over in eastern Imperial Valley. That's where we're going next. That is our final stop here in Southern California. Let's see here, where'd it go? Right here. Look at this. This is a Salton Sea Desert Research Station in Holtville. When I was a young man, a junior and senior in high school, I had a debate tournament over here in Holtville. We had one in El Centro, we had one here in Holtville. We had one other over here in the Imperial Valley as well. I remember this. Holtville High School. Look at the tremors here. Look at the tremors here, guys. Now, after 2:18, actually 2:17 this afternoon, on this red line to the bottom left, again, we're seeing a 3.0 earthquake. 3.0 earthquake. This lasted almost 30 seconds. 3.0 earthquake that lasted almost 30 seconds here. Just after 2:17 p.m. We had another earthquake just after 1:44 this afternoon over on the right-hand side as well, on the red line. These are significant. There was one other earthquake just after 8 a.m. this morning up on the top left here, near the top left. It says 0800 here on the left-hand side, 0800. That's 8 a.m. This appears to be a 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. Holtville is capable of these earthquakes. They've happened here before. When I was over in the Imperial Valley when I was a teenager, we never heard or saw these earthquakes before. I never heard of them over in Poway when I was going to high school or after that. But we're seeing them now on the seismographs. We're seeing them now on the seismograph. This is happening in the Imperial Valley now. We're seeing it. Now, I want to again say this. Anyone in Southern California needs to prepare now for a major earthquake in Southern California between now and the end of this year. Elon Musk has put the word out. I'm echoing that statement. I'm echoing that statement. Any of you in the Los Angeles, San Diego County area and Imperial Valley, you need to be very much aware that this earthquake is going to happen. We see signs of this happening now. I've shown you signs up and down the San Andreas Fault this evening. You need to prepare for that earthquake. It's coming. You need to take emergency measures now to stay safe. I'm not going to tell you to leave, but I'm telling you now to take emergency precautions. I'm telling you now to take emergency precautions because it could hit tomorrow, or it could hit 2 months from now, or it can hit between Christmas and New Year's. It's going to happen. Scott Carrico says, thank you for all you do, Ron. I appreciate that. Folks, if you're here for the first time, please subscribe to our channel. Please click on that red button to subscribe to our channel. When you do that, there's another button there as well. There's a little bell icon. There's a little bell icon. Click on it. That will get you notified when we come on the air. Click on that little bell icon. There's a drop-down menu that will come up with 3 items. Click on the word ALL, all. Click on the word ALL. That should get you notified when we come on the air. But be advised, YouTube does not like me. YouTube doesn't like me because I tell the truth. Okay? They will not always notify you when we're on the air. 2.5 months ago, I was doing this program on my tablet right here. I was doing my program on this tablet. When I was doing this program on my tablet, I was getting 2,000 to 3,000 people every day. 2,000 to 3,000 people every day that were seeing my program. Now I would be lucky to have 300 people, 325, 350 people seeing my program while we're on the air. Because YouTube is suppressing the number of people that are seeing my program. Unfortunately, if you have family, friends, extended family, neighbors, relatives, people you associate with on social media, and people you work with, share this program far and wide. Everybody needs to see the information we have to offer. Everybody needs to see this information we have to offer. We're living in a time of trouble and turmoils. Radical ideologies are coming forth. The multi-mainstream media keeps saying that Kamala Harris is going to win the election in November. The only way she can win is for people not to go to the polls and people not to vote for President Trump. Or, as the Democrat Party has done during the previous election, is stuff the ballot boxes. And in the middle of the night, while Trump is ahead, when the polls are closed, they bring in ballots and trash cans full of ballots. And within 2 hours after the polls open, all of a sudden, Kamala Harris will win. We cannot allow that to happen this time. Watch your polling places. If you have ballot boxes strung out on your streets, watch them. Watch them. If you see people dumping loads of ballots into your boxes, immediately call your local sheriff. Immediately call your local sheriff. Only the sheriff can do something about it. I don't believe local police will do squat. But the sheriff of every county here in the United States will do something about it. They are the chief law enforcement officers in your counties. They will do something about it. If you see people out with nightsticks and guns at the polling places, call the police. They should not be there. That's happened before in Chicago and New York and other places. Don't allow it to happen in your neighborhoods. Now, we have what they call swing states. Swing states, where the votes are up for grabs. Pennsylvania used to be one of those swing states. Now it looks like President Trump will win Pennsylvania. The polls are saying President Trump will win Pennsylvania, and Arizona, and Nevada, and possibly even Wisconsin. I doubt it, but possibly even Wisconsin. President Trump, it looks like, should win this election hands down, because Kamala Harris can't get the number of people at her rallies that President Trump has. Now, within the next week or so, we are going to see President Trump holding another rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, the same site where he was shot at by a would-be assassin who was killed by the FBI, who was cremated by the FBI 10 days later. FBI destroying evidence. The Secret Service did not adequately protect President Trump in Butler last time. They say President Trump has more more Secret Service than Biden does or Harris does. I doubt it. I believe there's also a conspiracy to kill President Trump. And I believe the Secret Service is in on it. Watch President Trump. Pray for President Trump, J.D. Vance, and their families. Pray for them. Pray for their safety. Pray for their health. The last rally that was held in Arizona, someone had microwave radiation pouring into the crowd behind President Trump. At first they said something was in the air that hurt their eyes. They were complaining of eye injuries. Now they believe it was microwave radiation. Another attack on President Trump. Watch what's going on. Watch your children. Watch yourselves. Let's get out and vote. Let's get out and vote for President Trump for this next election. This is absolutely essential. Absolutely essential. Now I want to go over to Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. In Jeremiah, the Lord is talking to Jeremiah here. To make complete, safe, and sound. Saying to Jeremiah, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Make complete and safe sound. God's plans are perfect and yet unknown to us. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, to make complete, safe, and sound, and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. God creates beauty from ashes." Isaiah 61, verse 5. Expectation. Hope is expectation. Expectation fully knowing it will be because God keeps every promise. God keeps his covenants with us. We've talked a lot about covenants before during this year. Keeping our covenants with the Lord. When we make a promise to him, we do it. We keep our promises to the Lord because he will keep his promises with us. It's a covenant. We're a covenant-making people. We are a covenant-making people. He says, plans to give you hope and a future. We will be with him, taken care of in every way possible. Taken care of in every way possible. Remember this scripture, Jeremiah 29, verse 11. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and in a future." Remember this scripture. Also remember Isaiah chapter 61, verse 5. God creates beauty from ashes. Folks, we do have hope in the Lord. That's why I want to share this scripture with you. We have hope in the Lord. We need to make sure we do what we promised the Lord we're going to do. Keep our covenants with him. Okay? Don Patoga says, vote like your life depends on it, because it does. Vote like your life depends on it, because it does. If we lose this election, or for any way the Democrat Communist Party doubles up their forces and take over this election, we're screwed. We're screwed. The United States of America will never recover from it. We need to do what we told the Lord we're going to do. We need to become a righteous people. We need to put on the full armor of God. Plain and simple. We need to put on the full armor of God. Like the scripture says, put on the full armor of God. Put on the full armor of God. Ephesians chapter 6, 14 through 17. The Lord will bless us. This constitutional right says Jeremiah 20:11, my favorite scripture. This is also one of my own. I have marked this in my scriptures. I have it marked because it's hope. It gives me hope for the future. It gives my family clarity on what the Lord expects of us. Now, folks, I love you all. I tell you that because I mean it. I love you all. Now, we have one of our own family members that is off tonight. She's going to probably be with us tomorrow evening, Heather. Heather has gone through a lot emotionally and physically. She broke her hand a few weeks ago. It's not healing right. She went back into the doctor. Actually, I was talking to her at 6 p.m. right before I was going to come on this program. Heather and I talked for quite a while. That's why I was late coming on the program. Pray for Heather. Keep her in our prayers. Also keep Becky in your prayers as well, Rebecca. NCWQ News and Disaster Explorer. Bless them. They need it. Pray for them. They need it. God be with you all. Again, I love you. Our Heavenly Father also loves you. Keep that in mind as we go through the night and into tomorrow and the rest of this week. Prepare for a hurricane by the end of this week in Florida. It's coming. Everybody needs to prepare now. Prepare now. Guys, I love you very much. I ask the Lord's richest blessings to be upon your heads and the heads of your family. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the other side. Good night, everybody. Much love. And I do love you all very, very much. Good night, everybody. Talk to you soon.